Hi, I'm Nathan from Serious Geeks, and in this video I'm going to continue the Tactica series with the Bladeguard Veterans squad from Codex Space Marines 9th edition. This is actually my second video that I've done for this, but unfortunately I lost that due to technical problems, and I've also, long story short, lost my microphone. So you'll have to forgive me if the audio isn't quite up to standard. I will be replacing the microphone, rest assured. Without stalling for time any longer, what is the Bladeguard Veteran Squad? Ever since 8th edition, people have been crying out for a Primaris close combat squad. Reavers have their own problems, and we will go over that in a different video I'm sure, but it hasn't been delivered until this moment here with the Bladeguard Veteran Squad. The best place to start when doing a Tactica is with the stat line. So looking at the Bladeguard Veterans, we can see they have the standard Movement 6, Weapon Skill 3, Ballistic Skill 3, Strength 4, Toughness 4 of most Space Marines. They have 3 wounds apiece, which is really substantial. Anyone who's used Terminators in this edition will know how tough a unit with 3 wounds is. Lastly, they have 3 attacks each and a leadership of 8 and a 3-up save, which is pretty good for the attacks and pretty standard for everything else. What really makes this unit shine though is the combination of 3 wounds and their storm shields that each model has. 4-up and vulnerable save and +1 to their armor save, so a functional 2+ armor save and a 4-up and vulnerable save with 3 wounds is incredibly potent. It's very difficult to chew through. Immediately, from reviewing this stat line and looking at the actual war gear that the unit has, you can tell that they're going to be a very tenacious unit on the tabletop. Indeed, there's a stratagem that is ideal for Bladeguard Veterans, and that is Transhuman Physiology. Arguably the best stratagem in the game, it means that no model in the unit can be wounded that phase on anything more than a 4+. No matter the rule, high strength weapons, +1 to wound, it's still a 4+. Anything less, and it fails to wound. The Bladeguard Veteran Squad, having a toughness 4, and being a high value unit with a high armor save and a decent and vulnerable save, are unique in the entire Primaris range, and that they are the ideal unit to be using Transhuman on. Toughness 5 Gravis armor is all well and good, but you're not likely to be wounded on anything better than a 3+, so the markup is a decidedly different amount. Battle cannons, for example, will wound most Space Marines on a 2+, being strength 8, but Primaris Gravis armor is only a 3+. So you get less return on those units than what you would with using this on Bladeguard Veterans. So we've discussed the stat line and the Storm Shield, which makes the unit incredibly tough and durable on the tabletop. And we've also discussed Transhuman Physiology in line with that durability. But what else makes the unit quite potent on the table? Well, their war gear is, to a man, Mastercrafted Powerswords. Every single model in the unit will have a functional strength 5 in close combat due to the +1 from the Mastercrafted Powersword, -3 AP and 2 damage. With their 3 attacks apiece, 4 for the Veteran Sergeant, and Shock Assault, you can rest assured that this unit can mince most of our infantry units on the table. 2 damage apiece means 2 wounding hits will even kill a Terminator. Each model is also equipped with a heavy bolt pistol, which is a nice strength 4 attack at 18-inch range, which isn't too bad, and you can also give either a Neo Volt-Kite pistol or a plasma pistol to the Sergeant. Of the two, I'd recommend the Neo Volt-Kite pistol. The plasma pistol, when overcharged, has a chance of killing a rather expensive model that is otherwise really tough to remove, and the Neo Volt-Kite pistol doesn't. It's only strength 5, which is still fairly good, and will wound most things on a 3+, most infantry that you're going to be firing at, and it does 2 damage with a chance of mortal wounds. So it's not bad. It's alright for a little bit extra, and it's fairly cheap. Looking at the armament, the stat line, and the war gear of this unit, we can see the roles available are quite obvious. The first most notably as a heavy frontline close combat unit. For this kind of role, I would bump them up to 5 models. The reason I would do this is because you're taking maximum advantage of Transhuman Physiology. If you lose a couple of models in the unit, you're still fairly effective in close combat, and it also gives you a large footprint to really take on the enemy objective holders and to move forward and have a focus. Transhuman Physiology works best with a large unit like this because you know it's an obvious choice to use it on. The opponent is going to have to focus fire on this unit, so it's really centering your battle line on that stratagem with this unit. It's quite effective use, and you're not going to be inefficient. If you go to the full 6 models, have 5 veterans and 1 veteran sergeant, then you're actually going to be paying an extra command point to use Transhuman Physiology, which probably isn't quite worth it for the extra 1 model. Aim this unit at the point of the battle you want them to influence the most, likely the enemy battle line, get right stuck in, kill as many things as possible. Alternatively, use them to just take an objective from the opponent, and there's little they can do to stop you because they are an incredibly potent close combat unit. Very few units will be able to stand up to them. Since you're investing in a large unit, 5 I would regard as a large unit, it is logical to add characters to support this unit. And with the core keyword, you can rest assured that just about any character can support this unit. A powerful captain does spring to mind. Let's be honest, hitting on a 3+ with a reroll of 1 to hits is incredibly useful, and you can upgrade that captain if need be to a chapter master to really go to town with a powerful close combat unit. Chaplains in particular are very useful with this unit. The Litany of Battle Exhortation of Rage is absolutely designed for this unit. A +1 to wound in melee means that your Strength 5 Bladeguard Veterans are going to be wounding Space Marines on a 2+, or Orcs, and you're going to be wounding Toughness 8 Knights, hopefully you won't get in combat with one of them, but you never know, on a 4+, which is actually a good way of taking down a load of wounds. Bear in mind you're doing 2 damage apiece. On that note, this unit can absolutely blunt an attack from a Knight using Transhuman Physiology and the 4+ and Vulnerable Save. You've got 3 wounds apiece, a decent size in the unit itself, and you've got a 4+ and Vulnerable Save. So, pop Transhuman Physiology, he's only wounding you on a 4+, and then he has to roll a full D3 to be able to kill 1 model after you failed your armor saves. Remember also that Exhortation of Rage, as a litany of battle, works from 1 command phase to the next, which, in practice, means that you can get 2 close combat phases, 2 fight phases of using it. So you can charge into the opponent with Exhortation of Rage, and then receive the benefit of +1 to wound for 2 turns, effectively, your turn and the opponent's. That is definitely the main role of Bladeguard Veteran Squad. You are a heavy close combat unit and should be utilised as such. Character support should revolve around that, because that is their whole role and design. And then you have to consider how you're going to get them into close combat, which is where we come across the weakness. They do have only a movement of 6, which makes them relatively slow. Even things like Veil of Time, which can allow them to reroll charges, it's not going to do much, because you've still got to move up the table, advance each turn just to get close enough to be able to charge in the following turn. It's not ideal. For this role, I would recommend putting them in an Impulsor, or potentially a Repulsor, but that does bump up the price substantially. An Impulsor would definitely give you the option to move up the table quickly. You only have 1 turn where you won't be able to charge, and it's worth doing. Consider that the assault vehicle rule and obscuring terrain will mean that your Impulsor can very likely get the unit right across the table in 1 turn, even if they can't charge subsequently. And you know that you've got the rest of the game, another 4 turns, to be able to carve into the opponent. Due to the transport capacity of an Impulsor only being 6, it's definitely worth keeping the unit at 5 strong. That way you could put a character in with them, and you can ensure that you're up the table with the substantial amount of support you need, and potentially a heavy close combat character as well. Of course, as always, I like saturation, so if you're using a heavy close combat unit, you need other attacking elements to really put the pressure on the opponent. You don't want them to just look at one squad and say, that's the squad I've got to remove. Mortal wounds can be focused on this unit, so be very careful. And if you don't have another unit to scare the opponent, to intimidate them and make them worry about which unit they're going to focus on, then you can rest assured that those mortal wounds and focus is going to come on that unit. This could be your tactic and your strategy, which could work, but I usually recommend having a heavy close combat unit alongside other things that are quite threatening. Redemptors, very useful. Contemptor Dreadnoughts, very fast, keeping up with them as well. And there's another little element that is ideal, which I think is brilliant, and that is a Terminator Squad. It can teleport down turn 2 and provide a substantial threat to the opponent after you've already moved your Bladeguard Veterans into the opponent's deployment zone using Impulsors. You'll have 2 incredibly potent and durable close combat units that are in really threatening positions to the opponent. If the Terminator Squad you're going to use is an Assault Terminator Squad, then consider the durability of a 1-up armor save, 4-up invulnerable, and then the Bladeguard Veterans who can use Transhuman Physiology, and the opponent's going to have a very difficult time. Mortal wounds will only be able to kill so many models and can only be generated by so many units. So which unit is he going to focus on? It's a very good and effective manner of using your Bladeguard Veterans. The alternative is to take Bladeguard Veterans in smaller units. I see no real problem in this. Just remember that if you're going to invest in a smaller unit of Bladeguard Veterans, putting them in an Impulsor, adding expensive characters to the side of them, isn't necessarily going to be the most cost-effective way of getting the best out of them, because the unit is already quite small. 1 or 2 casualties makes the unit very ineffective in close combat. What a small unit can do, though, is take an objective and just hold it and not be too much of a waste of points. It's not a terrible use. In fact, there are tournament games where people have won using 3 units of Bladeguard Veterans, only at 3 strong, and just held objectives with them. I don't recommend this myself. It is fairly easy to overcome, especially if someone's got mortal wounds usage, and it becomes a little bit of a roll of the dice of what kind of opponent you're up against. And also it's inefficient. I think if you're going to be spending 100 points per unit on an objective holder, use your troops choices. You have to use troops for a battalion anyway, otherwise you're going to be spending command points on other detachments. Therefore, you may as well use those troops to do so, and then invest the rest of the points in something else that you want that's more killy or more substantial at taking objectives. Certainly though, it is a viable tactic and it is definitely something you can use and win games with, but just remember that as new Codex books are coming out and you'll see more mortal wounds usage, bear in mind the Necrons don't have any psychers but have quite a lot of ways of causing mortal wounds. You could potentially lose these units fairly easily across the board and it becomes a bit points of inefficient. You're much better off using your troops and your transports to take these objectives, and your more aggressive elements in an expensive Space Marine army are taking the fight to the enemy and taking their objectives off them. Last point to note, and I've separated it out for a reason, is the Bladeguard Ancient. Although the Bladeguard Ancient does give a nice bonus to Bladeguard squads, it gives them a +1 to hit in close combat, I don't really rate it, and the reason I don't rate it is because he is an elite's choice that is a further points investment, when you could take one of your compulsory HQ choices and make that unit your support unit for your Bladeguard Veterans, thus saving points and having a more substantial character in close combat, because let's be honest, the Bladeguard Veteran only has a heavy bolt pistol. He's almost pointless in that regard. There are some small exceptions to this. With the Ancient keyword, a Bladeguard Ancient can have things like the relic Standard of Makragin Violet, which is an Ultramarines relic, which is incredibly potent. It gives +1 attack to all core units within 6 inches. So stacking with his aura of +1 to the attack hit roll, and you can see that you're going to have a lot of attacks hitting on a 2+. Again, it's not necessarily the most potent use of a Bladeguard Ancient. In fact, I'm not really sure I like the unit at all. The model's great, but the actual rules for it are just fairly average. And I think that you can also make do with other Ancient models that would work just as well and probably have a better weapon. So, if we wrap this up and move on to a summary, I think the Bladeguard Veteran Squad is a very potent heavy close combat unit. It has a lot of utility on the table in that it can be used to hold objectives, but it's fairly slow moving, which does limit its utility. For that reason, I'd focus this unit on a heavy combat role and emphasize that with all your other selections that support it. Anyway, that's it from me on this subject. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll catch you all soon. Thanks for supporting the channel, and I will be back soon, hopefully with a new microphone. Peace out.